Welcome to the Menopause Unplugged Podcast with me, your host, Nikki Oliveira. On this podcast, we will hear from women who are navigating the challenging and transformative journey of perimenopause and menopause. These women have graciously agreed to share their stories and insights, offering a raw and honest glimpse into what it's like to go through this major life transition. From hot flushes to rediscovering themselves, our guests will provide a wealth of knowledge and inspiration for anyone who's going through or will go through menopause. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and join us for a fascinating and enlightening discussion. Hello and welcome to the Menopause Unplugged Podcast with me, your host, Nikki Oliveira. Today on the podcast, something a little bit special and a little bit different. I have the lovely Sam here with us in the virtual studio. How are you doing, Sam? Okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you, in rainy Kent.
Oh, it was rainy up here in Glasgow too today.
Yeah.
So Sam, let the listeners know a little bit more about you then. What do you do?
Okay, so I'm Sam Evans. I am 55. I'm postmenopausal. I'm also one of the co-founders of online sex toy retailer Joe Divine with my husband Paul. We set up the business in 2007. We only sell skin-safe sex toys and irritant-free sexual lubricants. And I am a former nurse, so I have a nursing background, and I'm also a sexual health and pleasure expert. And I predominantly spend my days talking to people about ways to enjoy good sexual health and pleasurable sex through using skin-safe and irritant-free products, but also all the other things that actually can help too. I featured on Sex Myths and the Menopause with Davina McCall, the first programme. I contributed to her menopausing book and to quite a few menopause books too. And I also work with several menopause charities, early menopause charities and cancer charities too. So I use my nursing knowledge to help people to enjoy great sex. And I just like to reassure people that your sex life doesn't have to stop when you hit perimenopause and menopause. In fact, it can get better. And just to say, our oldest customer is 93 at Joe Divine.
Yeah, I mean, it was so amazing because, I think as youngsters, you think, oh, my parents don't do that, or you don't really think about it, as you get older, that sex is to be enjoyed as you age, and it's not something to be shying away from, or it's British culture, isn't it? Just not to talk about it.
I
And
don't think it's just British culture, because I've been working with a group in Ireland as well. It's the same over there. It's the same in America and other countries too. I just think, it's just this attitude. Sex is everywhere. It's cross mainstream media. As soon as some poor girl turns 16, she's, fodder for the press. And actually, you can't have a decent or professional conversation about enjoying good sexual health and pleasure. And people whisper, vaginal dryness, or, it's kind of sex toys, and it's kind of like, but this is bonkers because sex is so good for you, and when it is good, and and actually for me, it's lovely when we get feedback from people to say, the sex has got so much better. We're trying different things. We've used your lube. We spent all weekend in bed. I love those messages that I get back from people. It's like, yes.
yes, breaking through. We're making progress. Absolutely. So, Sam, we will definitely divulge more into that sort of side of things. But with your own menopause journey, I know you mentioned that you're postmenopausal now. So how did you discover that you were menopausal to begin with?
About 2015, I started working with Make Menopause Matter, Diane Danzer-Brink, and then I met Dr. Louise Newsom, because I started to realise that quite a few of our customers were coming through magazine adverts buying sex toys, and they were sort of saying they're going through menopause. And I'm thinking, because I'd had an endometrial ablation, so I'd had the removal of my endometrium at 40 to help with painful periods. It was the best thing ever. But because you're not having your periods anymore, you would have no idea when your periods stopped. So I remember going to see a doctor who had a UTI, and I'll explain about my history with UTIs. And I remember her saying to me, oh, actually, we don't go on your period stopping. She said, we actually go on your symptoms. And that was kind of like the first conversation I'd had with somebody. And then I sort of put it to a side. But it's strange now. I actually look back now and look at my 40s and think there were things that were starting to happen. I remember sort of in my mid 40s, I kind of lost my mojo in the bedroom. My head was somewhere else. I was thinking about packed lunches or the washing up or, closing the tumble dryer rather than actually being in the bedroom. My husband would say, "You're not actually here in the room." And I was going, "Gosh, no, you're right." And it was like, that was a bit of a wake up call too. And my orgasms were a little bit meh. They'd always been quite good. And also I was experiencing things like the brain fog, trying to remember names, because I'm pretty good at that actually.
Yeah.
My husband always says, because I'm much better than he is, names and faces, and I'm always sort of, feel, that's something I'm really good at. Couldn't remember people's names, couldn't think of words, because I was writing all these articles. We've got a huge blog on our website, and I was going, "How do you spell so and so?" Even though I've got spell check, and my husband was going, "What are you talking about?" And then it was like, the loss of confidence. I think that actually was a big one. I'd always been a fairly confident person. I've worked as a nurse for years, and you have to be confident. And I sort of gone up the pay scale and become quite senior. And I'd always been a fairly confident person. And then suddenly there's like doubting myself all the time. I was like, not able to spell words, but also to say, "Is that right? Should I be doing this?" And Paul, I'd be driving him bonkers, because he was going, "No," he said, "you do that all the time. Why are you doubting yourself?" And then worrying if I'd given advice to a customer or spoken to a healthcare professional. Oh, I'd wake up in the night thinking, "Oh my goodness me, what did I actually say to them?" So that confidence was a big shocker too. I didn't join any of these dots. I had the achy joints. So I thought I was getting on early onset arthritis, and being a nurse, you always think of the medical things. I thought I was getting dementia, early onset dementia with the brain fog and the memory. I had itchy skin, thought I was allergic to gin, but thank God it was just menopause. So I had formication, which my lovely doctor told me what it was. It's to do with the depleting estrogen levels, but it was like I'd had I'd been invaded by head lice or something. I'd be constantly scratching and driving my husband mad. And it's just, and palpitations again. I remember mentioning it to my doctor. I was probably about 48, 49. And I remember going to see him and said, I'd gone about palpitations, which was great. He investigated me, had a 24-hour ECG, and I sort of said, I put it down to stress, really, as we all do, I think. We tend to put these. And then I did briefly mention the itchy skin, and he ignored that. So basically the palpitations, and yes, everything was fine, but they carried on. And I kept thinking it was very stressful. I'd had a lot of sort of personal things going on. And I think, well, it's probably been caused by that. And it was weird. I think I must have put a tweet out. And I remember Louise Newsom actually emailed me. She said, "I think you should really explore going on HRT." She was really good about it. So I then found out my GP practice, we had a couple of doctors who were menopause, they were women's health specialists. My doctor's the skin man, so we're going to see him about skin stuff, and he's very good with that. And I booked an appointment with this doctor, and I printed out my Make Menopause Matter checklist, and I sort of done my symptoms, and I took it out of my bag, and she just looked at me, and she took hold of my hand, she said, "I don't need to look at your symptoms." And and I burst into tears. And she's just fantastic. And she went through all what would be good, and do you want to try HRT? And she was the one that said, "No, you're not allergic to gin, so don't worry." And she's been fabulous the whole way through. She's been so good. So in that respect, I feel like I was really lucky. But as a former nurse, I don't think anybody should have to get lucky to get the right diagnosis and effective treatment that they need. And yet I speak to so many women who I'm going, "Well, why didn't your GP talk to you about this?" "Oh, no, well, they gave me this, or told me, I shouldn't worry about my sex life," or, and people with recurrent UTIs and cystitis and infections, and go, "Why aren't you on local estrogen?" And so, that frustrates me, because I think that we should all have access to the same high standard of care, training and advice from all our clinicians and healthcare professionals, but we know it's not the case. We are slowly getting there with training. And also, I think then I went on to HRT, just a patch, and that seemed to really help. But then I think about 9 months later, I had a bout of bacterial vaginosis. I had I couldn't get rid of it. And my history is, in my 20s and 30s, I met Paul when I was 23. We were using KY and Durex lubes, and I constantly got infections. I constantly got thrush, bacterial vaginosis, the fishy smelling discharge, UTIs and cystitis, which in turn led to vaginismus, so whereby your pelvic floor muscles tighten, it makes sex painful or not possible because everything tightens up. And it was because every time we had sex, I'd be thinking, am I going to be sitting on the loo all night with cystitis? I'm going to be itching on the ward tomorrow with thrush. I had no idea it was actually the ingredients in these horrendous products which still exist today, which many people use and many doctors and healthcare professionals recommend. And actually at that time, you have to remember, we didn't have as many of the internet hygiene products, which was good, as we do now, because they are dreadful too. But I was using a wash. I was going to the health food shop because you could only get probiotic yogurt from the health food shop and dipping a tampon in that and then putting tea tree on it. I mean, dreadful things to try and resolve these issues. Not one doctor asked me about my sex life, what was I washing myself with, what sort of knickers was I wearing, just basic, what was I using shower gel. And at this time you could only get Canesten on prescription. So I was having numerous Canesten prescriptions. You couldn't buy it over the counter. Numerous antibiotic prescriptions, which weren't helping because then I was getting thrush after I'd had the antibiotics.
Sure.
And so it was very destructive. It was a very sad time. I even get upset about it now, even just talking about it, because I'm really angry that it happened. And I'm angry that these products still exist. And I'm angry that the vast majority of products that are available contain many of the ingredients that cause my problems. So glycerin, glycol, parabens, dyes, perfume, alcohol. But glycerin and glycols, they create a sugary environment, and that encourages thrush to thrive, causes all this irritation. It wasn't until we set up Joe Divine that we decided we wanted to sell skin safe product, and Paul had sourced the Yes organic lubricant. So we started to use the oil-based one. And within that a week, I remember saying to Paul, actually, I haven't had any irritation. It was like this light bulb moment. And that was when I started looking at the ingredients. We knew that they had good ingredients, but I didn't really understand, why they mattered so much. So the last 15 years, I've spent my whole time telling people, check the ingredients in your lube. Yes, you've got thrush because you're using that. Put it in the bin. Yes, I know it's on prescription, but your GP isn't educated and doesn't know that it contains irritating ingredients. So that's been it. But I was saying that I had these 2 stubborn bacterial vaginosis bouts. So my doctor then said, I said, well, shall I go on vaginal estrogen? And that has been transformative. So I was on Vagifem, and then I've switched to Vagirux because it's more eco-friendly and cheaper for the NHS as well. And I'm not too worried about throwing away one plastic applicator rather than a plastic applicator every time I was using it. And that's something that I will preach about. I tell people about vaginal estrogen. Vaginal estrogen, good vaginal moisturiser, good sexual lubricants, only wash your vulva with water. And that's sort of become my mantra. So for me personally, that has been my journey. I did go on testosterone last year, but I've actually stopped using it because I don't really think it's doing anything for me anymore. Did initially, but I thought I don't feel. And also I was getting some whiskers on my face, even though the level wasn't really high, but I was thinking, this is a bit strange. So I've actually stopped that for a while, and we'll see how we go. And I've upped my HRT, though, as you know, trying to source your HRT is like we're going on a bear hunt. No, we're actually going on a HRT hunt. And my husband's been brilliant and phoning around, and I've managed to source my patches. They're the ones I've got now are they rustle like crisp packets. They're so big. I take a progesterone tablet at night as well. So but that's kind of been my journey. And also I had no knowledge of it. My mum had a hysterectomy in her 40s, and then she went on HRT, but then she came off it because she had a benign breast lump, and no one ever talked about it. It wasn't part of my nurse training. Nobody. No, I think it is now. I think it's part of some nurse training. It's now on the med school curriculum. I think they're now being taught it sort of in the 4th year, or will be, finally. But obviously GPs don't get any training. I think it's like half-hour training or something, unless they choose to do it. So that always makes me a bit mad. And also the mental health issues. Again, I didn't really take that on board. I'm saying to you that my menopause was quite straightforward. I did walk out on my husband one day. I can't even remember what we argued about. And I went and sat in a bluebell wood for 3.5 hours, turned off my phone. He had no idea where I was. He sent our children into town to find me. I did come home in the end. I spent all this time crying. I came home in the end, and then obviously he was very angry because if my children had done that or he'd done it, I'd have been so angry. But then I think he realised that I was really struggling with my mental health, and actually that was a wake-up call for all of us. And we've all had mental health issues through, the pandemic and everything. So it's just made people more aware of, we need to just sit down and talk. So that's just really important.
Yeah. Well, that's been really interesting, Sam. So let's talk a little bit more about Joe Divine and sort of the work that you're doing with Paul then.
So basically, we're a sex toy company. So we sell sex toys to people of all ages. 18 to 93 is our demographic, is our customer base.
Yeah.
But predominantly, yes, I obviously do advise a lot of people in perimenopause, menopause, early menopause, people who've been through cancer treatment, who've been sent into a surgical or medical menopause, or people who've just been going through cancer treatment and haven't got into menopause, men and women. And for me, it was when I realised that people were buying our sex toys to help them with health issues. I thought, well, where's all this information? What's going on? What's on the NHS websites? And that it was just very poor information, very generic. There was often very, very poor lubricants like KY being recommended, and other terrible things like coconut oil, which love it or hate it. Some people love it. I wouldn't use it. And, but also olive oil and peach kernel oil and all these things that you're thinking, really? You're recommending this to people? Vaseline. I've had nurses tell patients to use Vaseline with dilators after cancer treatment. So I started writing the articles, and we've got hundreds now on the website. So that sort of drives traffic to the website. And also I can link out and send them to people as well. And also we were then asked to, into Tunbridge Wells Hospital, because a friend was working, she was the gynae ward manager, and she said one of their gynecologists they were telling people to go to Ann Summers to buy a sex toy, post-cancer treatment, whatever it was, post-hysterectomy, cancer treatment, surgery, but they weren't quite sure what they were recommending. She said, can you just do us a little sheet of sort of what would be suitable toys? And in the end, we ended up doing this little booklet that we have, the Joe Divine Health Brochure, which is now just being reprinted again, so it's on number 12 edition. And then that is sent out to hospitals. Healthcare professionals recommend it. They request it. They give it out to their patient. They signpost their patients to us. Some have a few of our products to show in their clinics. But it's ended up being a really good resource to actually open up the conversation within healthcare about enjoying good sexual health and pleasure, because a lot of healthcare professionals had no idea about the ingredients in lubes either. And some of them are still recommending terrible products. But, and so it's sort of a matter of educating people. But it means that they know that there's somebody they can signpost their patients to, because often time is very short in hospital treatments and clinics. And, sometimes a patient won't have brought it up because they're too embarrassed to say, well, actually, I'm really struggling with my sex life. And often a healthcare professional will not open up that conversation because they actually don't know what to say. Or they assume that the person isn't having sex, doesn't want to have sex. Especially if there's somebody with a disability or in a wheelchair, we still have this. They assume something about people's gender and sexual orientation, again, and the type of sex that person might enjoy. So actually it means that this enables them to open up the conversation, and they can say, actually, there's more information on this website, and you can contact this person. You can go onto our Instagram. She posts lots of videos. And so it's become a bit of a resource. And that's been really nice because it means that I can still do my nursing, so use my nursing knowledge, my medical knowledge, but in a part of people's lives that is often really embarrassing to talk about if you have a problem, or no longer feels great, or you've always struggled. And actually then to help people enjoy really good sex. It's really nice to be able to do this, but especially in menopause, to dispel all those bonkers myths that, it's your sex life stops and it's all going to be horrible and painful and you'll never have sex again. And don't get me wrong, there's some people out there and they're quite happy, and that's absolutely fine. If you're happy to end up, not enjoy intimacy or not enjoy sex. I'm not talking about intimacy because that's different. If you still enjoy the kiss and cuddles, but if people want to carry on enjoying pleasurable sex, and there's no reason why they can't. And also, I think I mentioned to you that it's actually about having like a chat over coffee, normalizing sex, and just saying, oh gosh, she's talking about vaginal dryness and lubes, how embarrassing. But actually, wherever I go, I take little tubes of lube with me, and I've given them out in the House of in Parliament, and at men's health talks at Lloyd's of London. If I go to events, or if it's even just a social thing, I've often got lube in my bag. And do you want some? So it's kind of like it's and it's I don't just whip it out. Just we end up talking about what I do for a living, but then I say, actually, I've got some lube in my bag. I don't just whip it out, if we're just talking about, the housing market or something. But but it's a great way of breaking the ice. And I get frustrated when I see healthcare professionals and doctors and sex therapists and no one's talking about sex. Yes, they are. I've been talking about this for years. It's just you don't know about it, or you haven't come across me yet. And actually being on the Davina program has been really good, obviously, for Joe Divine and my profile. It means, we did an Instagram live last week or the week before about breast cancer and sex, and it got, 200,000 views, and it was great because both of us ended up with messages about so many different things, not just breast cancer and sex, but lots of different things, which was lovely because it meant that we could both signpost people to useful websites and charities, and you feel like you're doing good. You feel like, you're actually helping somebody. It's not just a matter of buying yourself a simple sex toy or a tube of lube. I work with pelvic health physios. So often, I'll say to somebody, have you seen a pelvic health physio? No. Well, I can make a recommendation. You can ask your GP to refer you. You can self-refer. We work with psychosexual therapists. Again, it's the same thing. I recommend books and websites and podcasts and, and the charities that we work, menopause charities and cancer charities and, and other support groups. So it's a holistic approach, which no other sex toy company is doing this. They don't have the content that we have. A lot of sex toy companies don't really care about what they sell, and so they've got, the unpleasant lubricants, and, some even sort of promote that, oh, this is fantastic, it's got glycerin in it. It's like the last ingredient you should be putting up inside your vagina, and it's quite frustrating because you feel like sometimes you're banging your head against a brick wall when, you have doctors say, well, all lubes are the same. And I go, well, no, they're not. And they're trying to mansplain some of them. But also I do have female doctors as well who, they're trying to tell you what you're doing, isn't right or wrong. And that's frustrating too. But, for me, I'm here to help those people who want to enjoy pleasurable sex again, whoever they are. Whatever that sort of sex might be, because people enjoy sexual pleasure in so many different ways. So, and it's not just women, we help men too, because often women are phoning up to buy a vibrator because their partner has erectile difficulties. So we'll say to them, well, we actually have products for men to help them with their erectile difficulties. So it's great. Then they come back and they have, products to play with together. But we never talk about the fact that women are buying sex toys because their partner has erectile difficulties. And obviously we always tell people, well, have they seen the doctor? Because that's really important. They see a doctor, if they have any problems, because it could be an underlying serious health issue like heart disease or diabetes or prostate health issues. But generally, a lot of the time it's stress and anxiety, the aging process, poor diet, lack of exercise. So those are interesting conversations as well. And I'm always amazed by people who've been through so much, people who've had extensive gynae surgery or numerous cancer treatments or, childbirth trauma, and yet they're still determined to enjoy pleasurable sex because the sex was good before that happened. So, we are slowly getting there. So it's nice to be able to help somebody. And also when people come on the phone, as I mentioned, I had vaginismus. So I advise people to have vaginismus. And often people have never heard of it and they think they're the only person. They think they're broken. They think, there's something wrong with them. Then I can say to them, oh, I'm actually a former sufferer. And then you can hear this audible sigh. It's like, oh. So, I can say, well, I'm in menopause. Yeah, I'm somebody who's had recurrent thrush. To actually be able to sort of draw on your own personal experience almost like validates what I do, because I've sort of found my way through this, and discovered the really good lubricants like Sutil, Lux and Rich and the Yes products and, the Yes vaginal moisturizer, the vaginal estrogen, don't go anywhere near the intimate hygiene products on the shelves in our high street, and no one needs a bath bomb. And we've got perfume menstrual products and scented condoms, and people often will send me things, oh my God, I found this on Amazon. And I say, yeah, no, nobody needs to buy that. It's kind of like, we go, what is that? Well, why on earth? Because, our vaginas and vulvas are the last parts of our bodies that are being monetized. And it's big business. It's big business in menopause,
Yeah. 100%. Big business in all of that, isn't there? Like you're saying, lubricants and stuff, you can just buy it off the shelf. There's so many choices. It's all about smelling good, tasting good, but it's not good for us at the end of the day.
No, I mean, the intimate hygiene industry was created for a problem that doesn't exist, our smelly vaginas, because they have their own natural musky smell. Our discharge changes throughout the month with our menstrual cycle. And actually, these products do a lot more harm than good. When people saying, I've got vaginal dryness, and you say, well, what do you use? And you discover they're scrubbing themselves with an intimate wash. Well, actually, that's exacerbating your problems. That's actually causing the vaginal dryness and getting recurrent thrush. And you go, well, it's got glycerin and propylene glycol in it. Well, actually, that's actually exacerbating your thrush. Or they're constantly self-treating with Canesten from over the counter, and the thrush isn't going away. Well, therefore, it's probably not thrush, it's something else. And I always say to people, you need to go and be checked by your GP, because there are other genital skin conditions like lichen sclerosis. We do work with Lichen Sclerosis Awareness UK. They're a brilliant charity. But, I say to people, you don't use, and they go, oh, I had no idea. Or if they've been prescribed it by their GP, well, why did my GP prescribe it? I said, because they're not educated about ingredients, and these products are still on prescription. So there are several products on prescription that do contain those irritating ingredients.
Yeah.
So, you need to be, but I think when people become desperate, they'll try anything. And if these products are on sale, in the high street or the supermarket, you'll assume that they are safe.
Yeah.
The supermarket and the chemist is selling them, or actually, the pharmacist actually did recommend that I buy that. Yeah. But they don't actually have this knowledge, and they don't care because they're making money, so, this is why. And it's the same with sex toys, need to be skin safe sex toys, not made from jelly, latex or rubber. They're all porous materials. You can't clean products properly. They leach out chemicals. They degrade over time. We sell toys made from skin safe silicone, glass, metal and ABS plastic. The glass is like Pyrex dishes, so that's borosilicate glass. And the metal is medical grade stainless steel, like surgical instruments. And then the ABS plastic, that's a non-porous material too. So, this is really important. And also make sure you're buying from a reputable sex toy retailer like Joe Divine, because on some big shopping platforms, there are lots of fake and used products. So you don't actually know what you're buying.
Yes.
And also sex toy companies should be able to give you lots of advice. They should know about their product. And we do troubleshoot a lot as well, because some people don't get the batteries in the right way around, or there might be a lock on the toys. And we always say to people, don't just send it back. Give us a call. We can talk you through it. But so this is why, we're really passionate about helping people make sure that they actually look after their sexual health, so then they can enjoy pleasurable sex.
100%. So if any of the listeners are having any sort of difficulties or do want to ask Sam a question, then certainly I'll be linking all of Sam's information, Joe Divine's information in the show notes. So honestly, it's a safe place. Sam's not going to shy away from anything that you ask her. So, and she'll give you good, honest advice on what to do to help, or signpost you to someone who can help. So,
and just to say that,
yes,
a lot of internet providers and phone providers will have adult filters in place, so that actually does block the website, because obviously we are 18 plus. So you can remove those yourself for particular websites. You can ask your internet provider to remove them, but some people have them in place obviously to protect children. And also, as I said, we have a health brochure, but we also have a regular catalogue that goes out in with every product, and we mail that out twice a year to the people on our emailing list. Because some people actually don't want to buy online, because they may actually be on a shared computer. They may share it with their partner. They may share it with children, or, people have got an iPad, they share it with their grandchildren. And I completely understand that. So actually being able to phone up or email for a brochure, we can pop that in the post. And people can go on the mailing list. As I said, we never bombard people. We just mail them out twice a year. So, it's never unsolicited mail. You can always come off at any time, but it means it's an alternative. And, and people, not so much now, but we used to get a lot of checks in the post and even postal orders. People would order a catalogue, cut out the order form, then mail it back, and then we'd mail them out their toys. So they didn't even have any conversation with us, which is fine. And people would send us letters to request a brochure. It doesn't happen quite so much it was generally with our older customers. A lot more online now. But it just means that you can order by post, you can call us, or you can order online as well. So, and all the packaging is discreet. There's actually a video on our Joe Divine Instagram and on my Instagram at Sam Talk Sex as well, which shows you our plain packaging, and it won't come in a van which says buying a sex toy. So just to reassure people. So, and all calls are confidential, and also to say, if people phone up and a man answers, it's generally going to be Paul. And you can always ask to talk to me, and also I have men, are quite happy to talk to me, and women are quite happy to talk to Paul. But, don't hang up, and if I'm not around, then I can call you back, or we can arrange a time for me to speak to you. So, I just want to reassure people that don't have to panic and think, oh gosh, I'm not talking to him. But I mean, actually, he has many conversations with a lot of women, particularly menopausal women. He's very good at advising them about lube, so and toys as well. So it's we just try and reassure people and make it comfortable for them and a safe place, and normalise the conversation, because nothing phases us, and I just don't want people to be embarrassed and not reach out for help. I think that, when you know that help is available, there's really good and safe irritant-free products that can make such a difference. Even if it's just investing in a tube of Sutil lube, that actually can just make a big difference. It's often something quite simple, inexpensive, and that it's probably going to work for you, but it will work for you because it's a really good product. But it's just something as simple as that. So, yeah.
Wonderful, Sam. Well, thank you so much for coming on as a guest today to the podcast and sharing all of that amazing information. I'm sure it's going to help so many of our listeners. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been nice to talk to you. I did talk a lot, so sorry about that. You see, I'm really passionate about this. So.
No, absolutely invaluable, Sam. Okay, so we'll speak again soon, okay?
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Menopause Unplugged. I hope you found the conversation to be informative, enlightening, and empowering. Remember, menopause is a natural part of a woman's life journey, but it doesn't have to be a lonely one. Whether you're experiencing perimenopause or menopause, my menopause coaching program can provide reassurance and guidance. Please do reach out to me through my contact details on the show description. And until next time, take care.